Thought to have been killed in the multiple assaults by Hamas at the weekend. In the last hour, a military spokesman said at least 220 soldiers are amongst them. Well, our correspondent Nick Beek reports now from Tel Aviv.
Israel says hundreds of thousands of its troops are gathering outside Gaza and warns they'll soon be moving into the Hamas-controlled territory as part of its response to the atrocities committed on Israeli soil. Alongside this show of military force, a war cabinet has been formed.
Citizens of Israel, this evening we have established a national emergency government. The people of Israel are united, and today its government is united. We are fighting a cruel enemy, worse than ISIS.
In Washington, President Biden pledged unwavering support for Israel. Americans were among the up to 150 hostages feared to have been taken into Gaza and among those killed in Hamas's assault.
This attack was a campaign of pure cruelty, not just hate, but pure cruelty against the Jewish people. And I would argue it's the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. The deadliest day since the Holocaust.
This is what Gaza looked like in the early hours of this morning, plunged into darkness after its only power station shut down. Israel has cut off electricity supplies to these densely populated Palestinian communities. Many are now in ruins after being bombarded by Israeli airstrikes over the past 5 days. The UN says essential supplies of food, fuel and water must be allowed to reach civilians.
We left our homes thinking that we would return in an hour. We left our belongings, money, food and everything we owned. Now there are 50 people in the house without food, drink, water or electricity. I do not know how we'll provide food for our children. I'm searching here under the rubble for the remains of lentils and rice, even a little for my children.
Israel says Hamas's attacks justify this response, that this is an act of self-defense. But Israel is accused of breaking international law, killing hundreds of civilians in an act of revenge. This is the latest footage released by the Israeli military, showing their bombardment of Gaza. They say it will continue until Hamas is wiped off the face of the earth. As the calls become even more urgent for aid to be allowed in and for civilians to be given a way out. Nick Beek, BBC News, Tel Aviv.
Well, we heard from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Nick's report. Joining his war cabinet is the main opposition leader and Mr. Netanyahu's longtime rival, Benny Gantz, after they agreed to form an emergency unity government to manage the war with Hamas. At a news conference, Mr. Gantz, who's a former army commander, said the move sent a strong message.
Our standing here together, shoulder to shoulder, is a message to our enemies, and most importantly, a message to all citizens of Israel. We are all together, we are all soldiers. There is a time for war and a time for peace. Now is a time for war.
Well, overnight, Israel's exchange of rocket fire with Hamas continued. These pictures show rockets being fired into Israel from Gaza. And this footage shows Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system intercepting those rockets with explosions in the sky. Well, BBC Verify is continuing to monitor the impact of Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Several videos released by the Israeli Defense Force have shown their attacks. One was on the Islamic University of Gaza, targeted between the 10th and 11th of October. This is a satellite image of what the university looked like before the strike. BBC Verify matched the building's distinctive shapes to know that this image was taken after the strike. Israel says Hamas was using the university as a training camp for weapons development and military intelligence. Well, that's a claim we haven't been able to independently confirm. But these images show the Al Rimal area before the strikes, and this is a satellite image of the same neighborhood in Gaza which came through yesterday and has been located by our colleagues at BBC Verify.